But I turn back to Congressman Adam Schiff, chairman of the Intelligence Committee. Your reaction to this news, Congressman?
Well, most of the court order deals with the attorney-client issue. So plainly, there is a lawyer that is either making the claim or the court is proactively considering whether that attorney was acting as a lawyer or whether they were, in fact, acting as a criminal co-conspirator. And here the judge is concluding that they're not acting as a lawyer no matter what they're doing. So these communications are not protected, and therefore they can be disclosed and obtained. And so, I think the only thing we can glean so far from this order is that an attorney with a client was representing that client not in a legal way, but in attempting to, through the use of bribery, secure a pardon. And I agree completely that itself would be a crime. If the president was involved, he would not be immune from prosecution for it. In fact, this is one of the things in our reform bill that we make quite explicit, but I think it is already or should be clear under existing law. And what they're redacting there is not being redacted because it's classified in the way we're used to seeing. It's being redacted because it would disclose the identity of the parties. It would disclose the communications that were part of the effort to secure a pardon through bribery. And the investigation is ongoing, and that would harm the ongoing investigation. But it is serious enough in this respect. It's not easy to take on attorney-client privilege. And here, if the Justice Department was willing to take on that issue and the court is willing to rule on it, it means it's pretty serious business that they're investigating.
I showed the viewers what we have and don't have, and I do that in an abundance of caution because there's much yet to learn by definition. Having said that, what we do have and why this is undeniably already a blockbuster, even if we don't know how high the knowledge went in the White House, is the language which is here on page 2. And I want to read it again to you because it's a breaking story, Chairman. So I appreciate you doing the coverage with us. The reference to a bribery conspiracy scheme which would offer a, quote, substantial political contribution in exchange for a presidential pardon or reprieve. Now, with the caveat that I don't read this as yet defining who knew what in the White House, would you be concerned, Congressman, that if it's a bribery scheme and the president is the person who has to give the government benefit, the pardon or commutation, that reference to a, quote, substantial political contribution might reasonably only apply to a very few number of people, including potentially the person providing the pardon?
Well, someone in this conspiracy has to have a close enough relationship to the president or people around the president to make it happen. You're not going to pay a bribe to someone who has no relationship to the party that has the power to give the pardon. But people shouldn't presume, and there may be a tendency to leap to the conclusion that this may involve some of the personalities that have been very much in the news and who are worried about their criminal liability. It may be someone that we've never heard of. That wants a pardon and is well-heeled and therefore in a position to make a sizable contribution. So it doesn't have to be any of the parties that we think that may want a pardon, the Manaforts, the Giulianis, and others. It could be someone completely different. But at the end of the day, someone in that chain has to be close enough to the White House where they could conceivably deliver on the official act, the pardon, if the bribe were paid.
Chairman, the last question I have for you is somewhat phantasmagorical, but it is 2020. We've been covering the New York Times reporting one lawyer for Trump, Rudy Giuliani, wanting a pardon. What happens, and can the government or Congress do anything if this filing about an open investigation into a potentially criminal bribery scheme, I'm quoting the judge, quoting the allegations from the Justice Department, is shut down by a wave of pardons? I mean, are we hitting the limits of how any of this has ever any accountability?
Well, this is coming to me, without a lot of background. But, number one, there may be issues, even though the pardon would be a federal act, that nonetheless violates state law. There may be certain parts of this conspiracy, if that's what's involved here, that are also prosecutable by state and local officials. So there may not be a complete escape from liability. If the president were a party to this, and obviously that may very well not be the case. He may have no knowledge even of this. He would not be insulated, not able to pardon himself or escape liability that way. So I guess the long and the short of it is, in terms of what the Congress can do, probably not very much. But in terms of what state and local prosecutors may be able to do, that would be more extensive. And the congressional role here would be oversight and prospective legislation to try to curb these abuses in the future.
Chairman Adam Schiff, on more than one developing story tonight, thank you.